Hi. Okay, I'm making this video now. It's going to be long. Because I found it necessary after discussing this with several people. Yes. Okay. Over the last year and a half, I've diverted my efforts from making music, which was what I usually do, and I worked on 2 books. Actually, it goes like this. In 2004, I wrote the book Delta Theory in Hebrew. And then in 2007 I released it with Loki in an English version. Then I corrected that version in 2009, and it came out in 2010. Then in 2011 I wrote the prequel. Not the prequel, the sequel. Next book, Inconsistent. And then I thought that because the original book, Delta Theory, was in Hebrew, the translation was really poor, so I thought I should correct the style of the first book. Then when I corrected the style, I changed it completely. In many ways, the chapters are mostly the same, and the context is mostly the same, but the arguments themselves are completely different in most cases. And then after I understood what I understood from the first book, I wrote the second book. So I basically was writing books for 2 books, like something like 5 times, and now I'm finished. And now that I'm finished, I can go back to making music or something like that. Other than that, I work like everyone, because whatever I'm doing, it's not making money. It will never do. It will never make. It will never be my. Maybe, I don't know, but anyway. So I don't have full. What I'm saying is not anything other than I don't have all the time in the world to create. Most of the time, I work. Like everyone. So, okay. Blah blah blah. Okay. As you can hear, my English is not perfect, but the books are in English. And to write them so that they will sound good to me, I use the text-to-speech thing, and you can listen to it on YouTube. Also, there are captions, something cool that Google added. You can actually something cool. You can put the text and the dictation of the text, and Google finds in most cases can correlate the text with the audio. So you have all that on YouTube, and you have the text also on my site if the captions don't work for some reason. I read it this way, and not currently I'm not thinking of printing any of them. Originally I printed the Delta Theory, but well, I simply don't okay, the things I'm writing there, so I think it's wrong to even try to limit it, to capitalize on them or anything like that, because I don't know. Okay, it's for one, it's either too far-fetched or too significant to for me to think about what it means in terms of how can I make money from it. It's a book, and it's free, and it's for you, and I don't see any other way I can think of even beginning to convey it to others. Well, the thing is, these books are they are very important to practically anyone who is thinking, anyone who contemplates on his life or something like that. But it's, if you have thought of these things before, then nice. But if you have not, then you really should. If you are interested in either sciences, meaning physics or biology or chemistry or whatever, art, religion, philosophy, computer sciences, technology in general, psychology, practically any field, it affects practically any field. I mean, once you understand the concepts there, I don't ask you to believe I'm correct, but just understanding the logic would be enough to be very influential on your perspective. Not because you believe in what I'm saying is correct, but because just thinking these thoughts, questioning these questions, is enough to change your perspective over anything if you're doing anything of the sort. If you're making art specifically, it will change your perspective in many ways, and it will give you some insight and sometimes not so pleasant, and sometimes affirming. That depends on what you think you're doing. But again, it's even more important for sciences, for physics, for computer sciences, for artificial intelligence research, neuroscience, biology. Again, all of these, it's very important. This is why I'm doing this video, because I know that the text itself is very condensed. It's very hard to read because it's so condensed. Like, usually if you know have been acquainted with academic books, usually have something like this size of a book, which is all references and historic review and whatever, and then the actual content that is added by this book is something like this. This book does not have this cushion of history, because it would be too much to write this cushion of history around it. It's just the ideas in their raw form, and the argument. I try to be concise and to be persuasive, but you need to, almost nothing is repeated, so you have to keep focus all the time, because if you lose one paragraph, you could fail to understand. So anyway, they are hard to read, and maybe it's my fault. I guess it is my fault, but I was more interested in expressing the ideas than writing like literature. And the span of the ideas is so vast that, like, what you can apply them on, so that I try to be as minimal as I can while expressing everything I want. So this makes it a problem to read them. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I'm the one who wrote them, so I'm pretty much biased. But they are significant. They are important for each and every one of anyone who thinks about things deeply and is involved in research, in cutting-edge research. and is involved in artistic creation, and is involved in religion, and is involved in so many other aspects. So I understood that I need to give the motivation for people that are interested in the things I'm discussing to read the book, because this is why I express it. I express it for people who are already interested in these things to I guess well, it seems like it's kind of pointless that if I am thinking something that someone else will find useful, and I express it already because I had to express it because there was too much to think, just live in my mind. So I think that it's just obvious that someone would find it beneficial for his own, her own selfish reason. So it's a good reason, isn't it? So that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing it. It's for everyone's interest. It gives me it makes me feel good that I didn't waste my 1.5 years for nothing, even though I did it for myself, I guess, and it does good to anyone who needs it. So there you go. The thing is, you are probably thinking about the things that I'm discussing in this text already, but you don't know how I address them. Because you address them in your own subjective manner. Let's say, if you are thinking about, let's say, if you are in the field of artificial intelligence, then you are thinking from a computer sciences perspective, or neuroscience perspective, but you're not thinking about metaphysics. You're not thinking, and you are not thinking what it means in terms of more than just algorithms and materialistic models. And you need to have this ideas so to be able to confront what you're trying to build more correctly. Okay, I'm skipping like for the end of the second book, so never mind. But it applies to everything. It applies to physics as well. It applies to art. If you're trying to express something and you are lost for words and you don't know what you're doing, you're trying to reach that thing which you're trying to express, and you don't really have the words to express what it is you are trying to do. Maybe if you have a better idea of that, maybe you will be able to create more better works and be more aligned with what you're actually trying to do. So, but you are thinking, if you're, let's say, doing art, you are thinking from the perspective of an artist who thinks about the medium, the artistic medium and other works. You're not thinking about the metaphysical events that are transpiring while you are creating. You're not thinking about them because you don't think they are relevant. So this book gives you these perspectives, that you have to go through the model which these books explain, and which is difficult to understand maybe, but once you understand it, many things will become you will see many things different just because you understand it, not because you think I am correct, but because by understanding my way of thought, then you might reorganize your own thoughts, and in a way that fits better with what you actually are trying to do. No, I've said metaphysics, but these books do not deal with metaphysics. That they do not deal with metaphysics. They do deal with what I call metaphysics, meaning what is true to all metaphysical theories. And if you don't know what a metaphysical theory is, So a metaphysical theory is basically a synonym for belief system, for your persuasion. Like religions are metaphysical theories, and quantum physics is a metaphysical theory, let's say an implicit one. Physics empirical sciences reflect a metaphysical perspective. These are all metaphysical theories, and what this book discusses is what is correct to all of them. What must be correct to all of them, unless specific criterions are applicable, and most of the time they are not. I'll soon discuss these. The thing is, once you understand these united attributes of all metaphysical theories, which one of them must be true to our reality, this is something you have to understand, that at least one metaphysical theory is correct. Maybe no one knows it, but one is correct. And if something is true to all metaphysical theories, then it is true to that single one which is correct. And that's and the implications of these truths that are true to all metaphysical theories, and I'm talking about metaphysics, not logic, metaphysics. The implications are as significant to our understanding as from what I understood in these books. If they are correct, and I'm not saying they are, but if they are correct, then they are as significant as the invention of fire. And I'm not overestimating here, I'm not glorifying it, I'm saying this is what it is. It's the implications are, if it is true, and if we can utilize these understandings in future technologies and in future societies and culture, the implications are, it's a fucking earthquake. I can't really, it's hard for me to even imagine what the implications are. It would transform our lives to something completely different. Completely different. It would transform our technologies to something completely different. We are now fighting for energy, for oil. It will deem all these primitive line of thought a day when we needed energy, before we understood what makes it tick. I'm just trying not to skip so fast into the continuation of this I would say introduction or something like that. The things that I'm discussing, you will not find it in any place in academics, because academic discussion does not deal with metaphysics, not metaphysics and not meta-metaphysics. They don't care about it. They think we can prove everything through experimentation. And I'm talking about experimentation because the implications are not philosophical, they are practical. The implications are practical as technology. They're as practical as biology, as medicine, as our fucking lives. This is as practical as it can be. This is why it's the discussion, the lack of discussion about these topics in real establishments that are in charge of technological progress is well, it's a limit. And I don't know, I'm not saying these books will change that. I'm not saying because I wrote these books anything will change. I'm not saying that. Don't put words in my, I'm not saying that. These books can be, I've written them, and they can be overlooked, and maybe someone else in the future will discover it within the academic and let's say commercial realm, and realize it and cause this earthquake which I'm talking about. But maybe these books will do it, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I'm saying that currently you cannot find this in academic establishments. This is not something anyone is willing to address, although it's weird, although it's very weird, especially today. But I'll get to that. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to give you motivation to understand what I'm writing. I'm not really give you motivation, but, well, yes, to give you motivation, but the idea is that and what I'm counting on is that you're already motivated to know the things I'm discussing in these books, but you just don't think that it's worth the effort because you don't know what's there. So what I'm going to do in this long introduction is I will tell you what is there in terms of anecdotes, and I will not explain, actually I will not give you the justification for what I am claiming. I will just show you that I will give you like the things that are interesting, that are inspiring, and might make you want to dive into it and understand it, and maybe from that, let's say I've made this far, now you can proceed, because again, this opens the door. This is not everything. This is it just opens the door to something which again I cannot estimate its implications. It could be nothing, and it could be like the invention of fire. Okay, and so I will repeatedly I will shift between glorifying it to marginalizing it, because quite seriously, from my perspective, it's just a text I wrote, and in reality around this keeps on being the same as it always has, and so I can tell if this is important or not, because it doesn't change anything in my life. So, but maybe it will. I don't know. Okay. So, okay, there are two books, Delta Theory and Inconsistent. Both have 7 chapters with one introduction chapter, so both have 8 chapters. And so I'm going to start, and there's an order to them. Like, you have to understand Inconsistent, you first need to read Delta Theory. Well, it goes like this. Delta Theory as like the introduction to understand it. Delta Theory is incorrect in itself. Inconsistent corrects it, and together they bring a significant challenge to our current knowledge. From, well, once I will tell you what's on it, maybe you will feel the same, and maybe you feel like, who gives a shit? Perfectly valid. You can be sure that I personally do not like it when people tell me that they know everything. I'm not saying I know everything, but it may feel to you as if I'm saying that, and I know that feeling, and I hate it, and I resent people like that. But this time, this is well, maybe by making this video and explaining the issues, maybe you will understand what I'm saying, why I'm like this, even though I know how irritating it is. Okay, So, okay, the book Delta Theory begins with an introduction chapter, which is it's called introduction because it is how I introduce the discussion. But it's not an easy chapter to read, and it's not like it doesn't start with basics. You have to have some knowledge in basic philosophy, I guess. Although the ideas themselves are not that complicated to understand, really not. Just maybe the terminology is hard, but if you can Google every word there and understand what it is, if you don't know it, I would have not known it had I not encountered these words somewhere else, and I would not have encountered these words somewhere else if I haven't studied, let's say, both computer sciences and arts. But nothing demands you have to study either, and I can't say that the knowledge you obtain in these in universities about these is exactly what I'm suggesting in this text. So what I'm saying is, no, do not take it like not feel bad if you don't understand the word. You simply did not encounter it before, and if you do, then I don't think the concepts I'm discussing are that hard to understand. Okay, so I've said these books, they are important to everyone, and they're important to everyone on the personal level because of the perspective from which they begin. The first question that opens Delta Theory is, what is the thing I am supposed to be? Now, everyone has their own idea about that, and that's fine. I'm not going. These books do not tell you what you are supposed to do, but we cannot. Currently, we live it because we don't think what must be true to this world. Then we accept many things which are. It's not that they don't make sense. They simply contradict themselves and cause us hardships simply because we say we can understand this question, can answer this question. Well, we cannot answer this question, but we can answer what is not an answer to this question. And by discussing metaphysics, we can answer that question. What is not recommended because of A, B, C, and D. Now, the thing that is true, the basic axiom that is true to all metaphysics, okay? The one thing we cannot refute, it's the existence of our self-awareness, our ability to sense the present. Or no, it's not our ability; it's the fact we sense it. It's not even. We as, let's say, consciousnesses, psyches, minds, we may not exist. We may be just a mirage, but the sensation of existence exists. And this is the one truth that is true to, always true. We cannot refute it because we sense it. We simply, and if you do not sense it, then that's weird. That's really weird, because what exactly are you watching now? Now, the thing is, science forgets this, completely disregards this. Like, you have experiments in science where give you data. They say, oh, we measured this happened at that time, this happened. But, and the thing, this is fact. I have empirical facts. I have empirical facts showing that this happened at that time. I'm done. This is not true. This is not true in the sense that we do not know. We cannot verify if the empirical data that someone else found is true, has not changed since it was measured, or if it was measured at all. We cannot prove anything. We are stuck inside our consciousnesses. If we are in a dream and we see something that does not exist in wakefulness, it can be very persuasive, but it still won't exist in the external world, in wakefulness. And we think, okay, blah blah blah, but the truth is, this is our only certainty, and what science is holding on to, empirical sciences are holding on to. I'm not saying it's not true, I'm not saying it does not provide us with technologies, but it is not certain. Science does not give certainty, even not with respect to the data that science bases its arguments on. Not even the experimentations are unbiased. Everything is biased. The only thing that is not biased is the existence of our consciousness, not consciousness, our self-awareness. And when you disregard this, when you say something, what science does, it says, this is the data. They say, we are going to analyze the data and understand how the world is. But this is fruitful in most cases, but what it has shown today, I think in the last 100 years actually, is that what we have now is that we have some theories how things occur, but we have absolutely no idea why. And we have reached the level when science has reached the level when it says it's not that we do not understand the reason why. There is no reason why. There is no causality anymore. Nothing. They're saying our world, metaphysically, our world is inconsistent. It doesn't occur according to any repeated laws. While at the same time, they give you equations proving things that are universally correct, which demand our world is consistent. I mean, if it is not consistent, then no equation, no law of physics could apply to anything. So they're saying this one thing and they're saying the other thing, two things which are incompatible, are irrational, and science thinks it is rational. Now the problem is, I'm talking about quantum physics, by the way, but not just quantum physics. Everything. It can, no one can explain what is matter. What is it? Not no one, but currently science. What is matter? They tell you it's made of particles and they're made of whatever. But what are the particles made of? And they say more particles. So what are the particles made of? These particles. And they say, okay. So you're saying, so then you ask, are there fundamental atomic particles, meaning undividable particles? And then you can answer yes, no. If you say yes, then what are they made of? Why do they exist? Why do they affect one another? Nothing. No understanding at all. Nothing. If you're saying matter is infinitely dividable, then what is it? At no point can you say, I have something. I have, at any point you're saying, I have something that is made of other things. So there are infinite things that none of them are atomic. So what are they made of? This simple question, no answer. Absolutely no answer. And we expect to explain everything with science. And I'm talking about physics now, because physics is the foundation of everything else. Everything is built from matter, including biology, including cells, including animals, including us, including the society we live in, and including the planet on which we live, and including the universe which we explore. So anyway, we have reached, science and human technology and culture has reached the point when we do not, even though we do not want this to happen, we have understood that we have reached the end of this paradigm, of the current paradigm. A paradigm that started, it didn't start that, I don't think I can say I know at what point did this paradigm begin. I would say the ancient Greek, but maybe not. Maybe it came before. I can't tell. But this paradigm has ended. We've reached the end. We've discovered some things which make us understand we were wrong. And so these books, they do not utilize science because they understand these problems, and instead they build everything from scratch. They build it on this one thing which is must be true, and that is the existence of our self-awareness. This is the axiom. Even consistency is a hypothesis which we throughout these books, metaphysical consistency, the ability for things to repeat according to predefined laws, this is all under question. A hypothesis. Now, there's one thing which is kind of complicated to someone who never encountered any discussion about philosophy, and that's a division between the world and the world in itself. Now, I'll just give you a quick explanation. We have the world. We exist in the world. Okay, we do not. This is what we know. The world. This is. This is what we get from our senses, what makes us want things, and now the world in itself is the thing that is causing it. Before I said why does it happen? Well, the world in itself is the reason why the world exists and why things happen in the world as they are. It's hard, and the entire discussion about metaphysics lies in what is true to any relation between the world and the world in itself. Meaning, what is true to any relation between the things we see in our reality and the things that are causing it. What must be true to all of them. And we will reach that point later. Now, understanding that only our self-awareness is our only axiom, then this is the, if we are talking about metaphysics, about beliefs, about persuasions, about whatever, being what we are, self-aware, meaning consciousnesses, what we must explain, what we must provide, as if we are going to believe in anything, that the world is whatever, that the world itself causes these things to happen in the world, be it God, or be it the laws of physics, or be it whatever. We have to explain the basics of our experience as consciousness, as being self-aware. And I made, this is what I call the completeness criterion. 4 metaphysical theories, and that said, if you do not answer the completeness criterion when discussing the belief system you are propagating, you are endorsing, then you are answering nothing. You're saying you cannot even explain the very basics by which you conceived your ideas. And you're saying, and this cannot be enough for any serious discussion. It can only be poetic, a poetic discussion about the things we want and our desire for this and that and blah blah blah. Oh, I want this, I want that. And the world is so beautiful. Well, this is just poetic. This is not discussion. This is not argumentative, and this is actually, it's not even irrational. It's simply childish. So the completeness criterion determines finds six items. Defines 6 items which we must explain. One is sensations, meaning something we can distinguish as other than something else in our self-awareness. It can be anything. It can be an apple. It can be a memory. It can be a concept. It can be whatever. Sensation. Then there are sensations which are more complex. They represent a construct of sensations. Something like, okay, let's say you have the sensation that helping an old lady cross the street is a good thing. Why do you have that? It's because this idea is based on a preconception, a previous sensation, that's what we are supposed to do in this life. So this idea of that thing is a good thing is a construct of sensations. It's not just one. And this is something we have to explain. We have to explain how can one idea affect another, in the sense that how can one idea consist of several ideas, several sensations? How can it be? You have to explain it. You have to give an explanation why. 3. Thought. Our ability to control what are the sensations in our mind. What sensation we introduce into our mental space. Because we have that possibility. When we try to remember, when we think about things, we have thought. We have control. And we have also the ability to repress. If we want to forget or to not think about something, we can do that. How can we do that? Why is it possible? You have to explain it. Sorry, this is something like you have to explain it. If you're talking about belief, if you're talking about what you think this world is, you have to explain that. And the same, this is like the intentional insertion or removal of sensations, and then you have the unintentional. Like, for example, if you are watching the sunset and eventually the sun sets and no longer can you see the sun, the sensation of the sun nullifies. Not by your doing, it happens because not by your you can argue about this, who does it, but you cannot argue that you cannot control it. You cannot make the sun go up. You can try, if you like, you can try, but I can assure you, it doesn't work. It does not work. And then there's the completion of this, and that was nullification. And then there's something emerges that even though you do not want it, such as like let's say bumping your Twinkie against a cupboard, and it's very painful and you never wanted it, but you sense it. That's sensory. Sensory is unintentional, just like nullification. This is the lowest bar. So, and this is actually what we are addressing in this book. This is the things we are. This is the contract we're saying. I'm obliging to in the beginning of these books of Delta theory, and which I satisfy, at least potentially or theoretically. You need to. Everything needs validation, but it's very close to impossible to validate anything about metaphysics. You can only validate it as if it has to be correct to all metaphysical theories. Anyway, so about that, well, I said it's going to be long, and it will be long. So, what is true to all metaphysical theories? How will we even address this idea? I mean, what is true to every single idea that comes to every single person's mind? How can you even address something like that? This is the amount of beliefs that have occupied the troubled, fevered minds of humans from the beginning of history is proportional to the amount of years and people that have lived. How can we address it? So, this is a problem. This is a problem, and what I did, I said, let's take a look at it from another perspective. Let's not ask what is the semantic contents of each belief, but think about it from the perspective from which we came, meaning our self-awareness, our consciousness, the completeness criterion. What does it ask from us when it comes to answering the completeness criterion or answering anything? So I found that basically it's not so vast. It's not so vast. It's actually there are actually three types. That's all. Just three, as far as I can tell. One is completely inconsistent metaphysical theories. Theories that are telling you nothing is consistent. Nothing is according to a law. Everything is chaotic. Everything can happen at every time. This is the true nature of the world and whatever. This is like Zen, and this is very popular among several New Age shit. I'm saying shit, but maybe it's convincing to many people, and I cannot really, even though I can't say I'm supportive of that, I cannot say it's better than what I believe. If I believe in anything, it's more correct than Zen or completely inconsistent metaphysical theories. But what it does say, if everything is inconsistent, if nothing obeys any predetermined understanding, then there's no point to discuss anything, and there's no point to think about anything, and there's no point to live, because even the gratification you feel shows consistency of some sort. If you are undermining everything, well, there's nothing much to discuss. If it works for you, fine. What is the difference between you and a rock? Does it matter? I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. To me, it matters. So, completely inconsistent metaphysical theories, not really interesting. Not from our discussion, because it basically says sensations, they're nothing. They don't exist. Constructs of sensations don't exist. They are something like we can say something about it consistently. It doesn't exist. Blah. Thought, we're not thinking about anything. Sensory, we don't sense anything. Repression, we don't repress anything. And nullification, nothing nullifies. Nothing happens at all. Everything is, I don't know, I think it's lacking. And maybe I'm misunderstanding Zen. And maybe I'm misunderstanding this line of thought. Maybe there are no completely inconsistent metaphysical theories, and they are all under the category of inconsistent metaphysical theories. Not the difference is they are not completely inconsistent. Thing is, in inconsistent metaphysical theories, some things obey rationality, while some things do not. And religions are like that, because religions have lots of laws, and there are many religious discussions and debates, and it means that there has to be consistency to these debates. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any point for any discussion, not even from the perspective of those participating in such arguments. But on the other hand, there are things which you have to believe, and they don't prove. No one proves, and no one can prove. Now, the thing is, sciences, empirical sciences, are exactly in the same category as religions. As these religions, as let's say monotheism, Western monotheism, or polytheism, or paganism, or whatever. They are all in the same category. They think they are better, especially, let's say, sciences think they are better because they think they are consistent, but they are not. And religions think they are better because they think science is consistent, while it is not. Because they believe them. They believe science. Empirical science, practical science, exact sciences, whatever other sciences. Okay, so these are the two categories which there's nothing much to say. I mean, if there are some things you cannot prove, and they might be true, they might be incorrect, and they are fundamental to what you are saying about your reality and about what you should do, then if they are incorrect, then they are incorrect, and everything you are saying is not true. So what now? What are we to do with your hypothesis? So I delayed this discussion. I delayed it in a book, a book forward. And then there's the last category, and that's consistent metaphysical theories. Consistent, meaning everything occurs because of a reason which is rational and you can understand. Everything that exists in the world is understandable, and you can understand why it happens completely. Now this category is empty. There's not there, or it was empty. Before these books it was empty. Now it has one occupant, and that's Delta theory. Alleged occupant. Maybe, I mean, with the addition of inconsistent, it's a well-established occupant. Maybe it will be evicted one day, maybe by you. But you have to more than just contradict, say I'm wrong. You have to prove it. It's hard. Again, supposing your discussion supposing your theory is consistent, meaning you do not negate yourself, refuting a metaphysical theory is practically impossible. I mean, on what grounds? And even if you prove that some specific details is incorrect, how do you prove from that the entire corpus of the idea, that how bulk of the explanation you give for reality is wrong? So, let's say, whatever. The thing is that in a consistent metaphysical theory, what is unexplainable does not exist. But the thing is, now that's the trick. Because you're talking about metaphysics, not logic, then by your own definition, you can define what is existence, or better say, you can isolate existence from the elements that you can say existence. Let's say we discussed the world and the world in itself. World in itself produces the world. So what you can do in metaphysics, and you can do in any other field of contemplation, you can say whatever exists, whatever is in the world exists. What is causing it does not exist, because the world and the world in itself are disconnected. They are not the same thing. And the world in itself does not exist in the sense of within our world, but it does exist outside of it. The things that produce the world are different from the things that are in our reality, and everything in our reality is consistent. Metaphysically, it is consistent. This is what consistent metaphysical theory determines in advance. Because why I'm saying it? Because eventually you have to explain why something exists. Anything, even existence, and for something to exist, it has to in a consistent metaphysical theory, it has to have a reason. Okay, so there is a reason, but the reason does not exist. Gotcha. It doesn't exist in our reality. Okay, you have to. We're going to book the second book already, so let's continue on. If you want explanations, better explanations, you just have to read. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you the entire book now. Okay. So what I do to begin with, there's a problem. Okay. Other than the fact that what I'm trying to build, or trying to populate the consistent metaphysical theory category, other than the fact that it's hard, there are problems. There are problems, and the problems are that logic in itself has paradoxes in it, and paradoxes yield inconsistencies. And if we are to say our reality is rational, consistent, and logical, we have to clear these paradoxes away. We cannot use defective logic with paradoxes in it, such as, for example, the liar paradox. In the liar paradox, I say, I am lying. If you're thinking about it, if you know this paradox, or if you're thinking about it, what does it mean? It contradicts itself. So if you have logic that is flawed in this sense, you cannot claim that the world is consistent, even if it is logical, even if it is rational, even if it is consistent. So the first thing I had to do was to redefine logic, or better say, redefine what is consistent, what is rational, what is possible in a consistent logical world. And I did that by what I define as the physical logic. The physical logic, it's very simple. What it says basically is that all our sensations, like generalization in terms of language, all of these do not exist, cannot exist. They cannot exist because, as I show in this chapter, we are free to understand them in different ways, and in one way, one sentence is paradoxical, while in another way it is not. So we have a problem that we have something which is supposed to be fixed, supposed to be can potentially disrupt our reality, and we have the or disrupt our metaphysical model, and we have the option to choose